Earlier this week, I packed up the back of my car with a bunch of tools so that way I could drive 2.5 hours northeast to go check on one of our apartments that we just had a tenant move out of. My goal with this trip is to get the apartment turned over and rent ready so that way we can get a new tenant moved in. So my wife and I actually bought this fourplex about 2.5 years ago, and when we bought it, we inherited this tenant with it. The individual who was living here was a 95-year-old woman living on the second floor in this unit by herself. Unfortunately, the only reason that she had to move out is because she tripped at the entrance to the building and broke a handful of bones in the process. So now she has been moved into a nursing home where I'm sure she is being taken much better care of. Now, typically when I get a rental property back, I have some idea at least of what I'm getting into. And thankfully, I did visit this unit just a few months back, so I had a pretty good idea of what needed to be done. This property was built back in the late 1960s, and a lot of what was inside of it was still original. However, even though it's dated, it was still all in really good condition. This is also a small Midwest town where there's not really a whole lot of nice rental units in general. So something that I do think about when going into this is that yes, it would be nice to update some things. However, there's just no ROI on doing it. If I spend a couple $1,000s to completely renovate this, I'm not going to be able to increase the rent enough to pay for it. So as long as things are still working and they're in good condition, then I'm going to leave them as is. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. It also has a single-car garage stall, and it has been rented out for $750 a month. Also, for the record, yes, I did bring an air mattress with me because I anticipated spending 1 to 2 nights up here. It was just easier than doing the 5-hour round-trip drive. A question that I get a lot with my long-term rentals especially is why not just convert them into short-term rentals, especially since I make so much more cash flow on the short-term rentals versus long-term? And honestly, my answer is just simplicity, plus the diversification of having short-term and long-term rentals. With long-term rentals, for the most part, once I get a tenant into it, I typically don't hear from that person a whole lot, and it's pretty hands-off. It's also consistent cash flow. I know exactly what I'm going to be getting each month. With this property, for example, it's a fourplex that we bought for $230,000. All 4 units rent for $750 a month, although we are planning to try to increase this one to $850. And then on top of that, we rent out the 2 additional garage stalls for $50 a month each. So on average, we cash flow anywhere from $1,500 to $1,700 per month on this property. But anyway, I digress. This unit was pretty easy to turn over, just some paint, carpet, a new faucet, and a couple other odds and ends, and I was done within 2 days. I just put this up for rent last night for $850 a month, so I'm going to see if I can get that $100 per month increase to match market rate, but we'll see what happens. Thank you all for following along through these couple of days. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or emotional outbursts, please drop them in the comments.